this video lecture, we are dealing with section 4 of this chapter, which is the index of a closed curve. As an earlier exercise, we have proved that integral over gamma 1 by z minus a dz, where gamma of t is equal to a plus e raised to 2 pi I n t, where t is varying from 0 to 1, is equal to 2 pi I n. It is actually the line integral definition that is being used here. Here, instead of integral over gamma 1 by z minus a dz, that is equal to integral from the variation of t 0 to 1, 1 divided by, instead of z, we have gamma of t, which is a plus e raised to 2 pi I n t minus a into the derivative of a plus e raised to 2 pi I n t, which is nothing but, when you simplify, uh, when you calculate, you get integral from 0 to 2 pi I n into e raised to I n t dt divided by e raised to I n t, and you get it finally as 2 pi I n. And in the next preposition, we are going to generalize the concept we just have ended up with now. The preposition says that let gamma from closed interval 0 1 to c be a closed rectifiable curve. So here you can observe that this gamma of t, which was mentioned here, is actually a circle centered at A with unit radius. So here, instead of that gamma, we have a closed rectifiable curve, and we are taking a point which is not happening to be on gamma. Then 1 by 2 pi I integral over gamma dz divided by z minus a will be an integer. This is what we have to prove. So for that, we are assuming for our convenience that gamma is smooth. Okay, and define a function g from closed interval 0 1 to c by g of t is equal to integral from 0 to t gamma dash of s divided by gamma of s minus a ds. Calculate g of 0. G of 0 will be from integral 0 to 0, that means g of 0 will be 0. G of 1 will be integral from 0 to 1. What will be g of 1? Integral from 0 to 1 gamma dash of s divided by gamma of s minus a ds, which can be rewritten in the line integral form, that is equal to integral over gamma 1 divided by z minus a dz, right, by its definition. And by the fundamental theorem, we know that the derivative of integral over 0 to t f of s ds will be f of t. So that happens to be working here too. We are taking the derivative of g of t, that is g dash of t, that is d by dt of the term sitting here. So we obtain g dash of t is equal to gamma dash of t divided by gamma of t minus a, where t is varying from 0 to 1. Now we are considering d by dt of e raised to minus g into gamma minus a. So for that, you just use the product rule of differentiation. You get e raised to minus g into gamma dash minus minus g dash into e raised to minus g into gamma minus a. So for a further understanding, you can use this. Yes, this gives that d by dt, we are considering d by dt of e raised to minus g of t into gamma of t minus a. apply the product rule, you get e raised to minus g of t into gamma dash of t plus minus g dash of t into e raised to minus g of t into gamma of t minus a. Then take e raised to minus g of t out and arrange the terms inside to get this. Substitute instead of g dash of t the value which we got earlier, then this will cancel out and what you get is 0. That means we get e raised to minus g into gamma of a, e raised to minus g into gamma minus a is a constant function. Okay, so that is an observation there. So we are going to substitute t is equal to 0. So that means e raised to minus g of 0 into gamma of 0 minus a is equal to, we know that g of 0 we calculated it to be 0. So e power g of 0 that will be 1. So you get that to be gamma of 0 minus a. Since this is constant, when t is substituted by 1 in the same function, you get the same. So you get e power minus g of 0 into gamma of 0 minus a is equal to gamma of 0 minus a is equal to e raised to minus g of 1 into gamma of 1 minus a. And we have taken gamma to be a closed curve. That means gamma of 0 is equal to gamma of 1. So here you can cancel them out. Gamma of 0 minus a and gamma of 1 minus a are the same. So we can cancel them out and you get e power minus g of 0 is equal to e power minus g of 1. Okay, but e power e power g of 0 will be 1 because g of 0 is 1. So you get e power minus g of 1 is equal to 1. Fine. So when is e power something 1, then g of 1 is equal to 2 pi I k, where k is varying in some integer. So what is g of 1? G of 1 is nothing but, so what you obtain there is g of 1 is equal to integral over gamma 1 by z minus a into dz. So we obtain that that is equal to 2 pi I k, where k is an integer. So when you rearrange, you get 1 by 2 pi I into integral over gamma 1 by z minus a dz is equal to k, where k is some integer. So that's what we have to prove here in this preposition. So 4.1 preposition is, it is actually very important and it is very simple to prove. And the next definition is something related to this itself. It says that 1 by 2 pi I integral over gamma 1 by z minus a dz. That is the guy sitting here which we mentioned now. This. That is equal to, we said that that is equal to some integer, right? So we are calling that integer as the index of gamma with respect to the point a. So you know that gamma is involved in this term as well as a point a is involved. So this is defined as the index of gamma with respect to the point a, and also called as a winding number of gamma with respect to a or around a. And during the first sections, we said that if gamma is a curve from closed level 0, 1 to C, then minus gamma or gamma inverse is the curve defined by reparameterization of the original definition. That is minus gamma of t is equal to gamma of 1 minus t, where t is varying from 0 to 1. Also, if gamma and sigma are curves on closed level 0, 1 such that the endpoint of gamma is equal to the starting point of sigma, then gamma plus sigma can be defined and it is equal to gamma plus sigma of t, that is equal to gamma of 2t, where 0 and 0 t is varying from 0 to 1 by 2, and also it is equal to sigma of 1 minus 2t if 1 by 2 is if t is happening to be coming in between 1 by 2 and 1. And the preposition 4.3 can be easily proved using the definition of this index number. And please note that the definition of the winding number or the index number is very important. Keep it that in mind. And these are the properties of this winding number, that is n gamma a is equal to minus n into minus gamma of gamma a. N gamma plus sigma a is equal to n gamma a plus n sigma a. Please use the definition of the n gamma to prove the same, and you can use this too. Now we'll prove theorem 4.4, which says that if gamma is a closed rectifiable curve in C, then n gamma a is a constant for belonging to a component of G, which is equal to C minus set gamma. Also n gamma a is equal to 0 for belonging to an unbounded component of G. So we have two parts. Okay. For the first part, define the function f from G to C as f of a is equal to n gamma a. That is, we are calling it as the indexing number. First, we will show that f is continuous. That is our basic aim. So, suppose if we prove that f is continuous, how do we move through the proof is that we know that a continuous image of a connected set is connected. So, whenever D is a component and f is, we have proved, suppose if we proved f is continuous, then we know that f of D is connected for each connected component D of G. Okay. But f is a function from G to C and f of a is an indexing number. So the range will be set of integers. So this f of D will be a subset of integers, but it has to be connected. So it will reduce to a single point. So it's single constant natural number, integer. So that means f will be a constant on D. Okay, that is the idea of proving that f is continuous. By proving f is continuous, you can reach such a conclusion. That's how we get the first part. Okay, to show that f is continuous. Since G is open, G is an open set, the components of G will be open and they will be only countable number of them. That is a property you get from G being open. So suppose A in G is fixed and we are calling R is equal to the distance between the point A and the curve gamma. So that will be the minimum distance. Okay, you can see the green line here. Okay, and suppose if modulus of A minus B is strictly less than delta, okay, and that is strictly less than r by 2. Okay, suppose this is r by 2, you are taking a B which happens to be even closer to A than r by 2. Okay, you can see that from the figure. Then we are considering modulus of f of a minus f of b. That is equal to, from the definition, you know f of a is equal to n of gamma a, f of b is equal to n of gamma b. Apply the definition. 1 by 2 pi I, you are having the modulus 1 by 2 pi I. So modulus of I is 1. So you can take 1 by 2 pi out. So inside the modulus, integral over gamma 1 by z minus a minus 1 by z minus b dz, and rearrange using the LCM of the fractions, you get z minus b minus set minus set minus a. So you get a minus b in the numerator and the denominator you have set minus a into set minus b. Then apply the property of the modulus and integral sign. You get, there will be a less than or equal to into modulus of a minus b divided by 2 pi I integral over gamma modulus of dz divided by modulus of z minus a into modulus of z minus b. And from that you can look here, that will be less than or equal to modulus of a minus b divided by 2 pi integral over gamma 1 by modulus of z minus a into 1 by z modulus of z minus b into modulus of dz. But we know that modulus of a minus b is strictly less than r by 2, as we have said earlier here. Okay, and z is happening to be on gamma. Z is happening to be on gamma. That will mean modulus of z minus a will be definitely greater than or equal to r. It can be r or greater than r, because r is the minimum distance in between a and the curve. So modulus of z minus a is greater than or equal to r. That will be strictly greater than r by 2 definitely. And also z minus b. Z minus b will also be strictly greater than r by 2. You can understand that from the figure. So you can substitute all those here. So this means that 1 by z minus a, modulus of z minus a will be equal to 2 by r. 1 by modulus of z minus b will be less than 2 by r. You can substitute that here. And modulus of a minus b is strictly less than delta. Okay, so you get that. And then integral over gamma modulus of dz will be total variation of gamma. So you get in total this. So that's what which is written here. So from there we get that if epsilon is strictly greater than 0, such that the delta which we chose is minimum of r by 2 and pi r square epsilon by 2 v of gamma, we get that modulus of f of a minus f of b is strictly less than epsilon. That is, it satisfies the conditions which are necessary for that. And now the next part is, so you get f is continuous, then obviously f of d will be should be a connected set, as we said earlier, because of the property that continuous image of a connected set is connected, and f of d happens to be inside the set of integers. So you get that it has to be just one point. Now, suppose if u is the unbounded component of G, definitely we can say that there exists a capital R such that modulus of set strictly greater than R is happening to be inside U, because U is an unbounded set. It has such a property. So if epsilon is greater than 0, choose A with modulus of A strictly greater than R. That means A is inside this. And modulus of z minus A is strictly greater than V of gamma by 2 pi. Then that means here you have 1 by modulus of z minus a is strictly less than 2 pi epsilon by v of gamma, if we are choosing like that. Modulus of n of gamma, take it. That is equal to modulus of 1 by 2 pi I integral over gamma 1 by z minus a into dz. That is equal to 1 by 2 pi I modulus of integral over gamma 1 by z minus a dz. Okay, that is less than or equal to 1 by 2 pi I integral over gamma 1 by modulus of z minus a into modulus of dz. And finally you are going to get that is strictly less than epsilon by v of gamma. And you know that this v of gamma is a constant and epsilon is strictly greater than 0 and arbitrary. That means modulus of this is strictly less than epsilon will mean n of gamma a has to tend to 0. And that's what the theorem 4.4 ends. So that's about this section. It is an important part of this chapter. Thank you.